So hello and welcome to my channel. So today we will cover this poem A Tiger in the Zoo from your NCERT. So class 10th, let's get ready and learn this poem. So this poem A Tiger in the Zoo has been written by Leslie Norris. As the title itself suggests, this is about life of a tiger in the zoo. This poem actually is a reflection of how tiger's life is different in a zoo than what it would have been in its natural habitat, that is, forests. So let's start with the first stanza. So the poem opens with the image of a tiger who has been captivated in a cage. And we see that his life is not that easy. Let's read the first stanza. He stalks in his vivid stripes, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. So children, the meaning of the word stalks is moving quietly and slowly. The meaning of vivid is bright and clear. Let's understand this. So he moves slowly in his bright stripes. So it creates an imagery that how majestic the stripes of the tiger looks. The few steps of his cage. By this line we understand that there is a very constricted space for the tiger in cage. And he walks on his paws, which have been compared to velvet. They are very soft, and they are meant to be soft because tigers, they are very stealthy. They move very quietly in order to attack on their prey. But we see that tiger is angry. Rage means anger. And why he's angry? Because his captivity is making him angry. It's his frustration that is making him angry. And we understand that he's quiet about it because in the cage he's powerless. He doesn't have any way to show his anger, which is quite contrary to his life in the forest. Let's move to the second stanza. Now, this second stanza is an imagination of the poet as to how life of tiger should be in the wild, and it is different from what he lives in the zoo. It is quite contrasting to what his life would be like in the zoo. We understand that in the forest the tigers are free. They live their life according to their natural behaviors, but in the zoo their freedom is restricted. So in this stanza we see that the poet has written, he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. What is the meaning of lurking? Lurking means waiting secretly. So what do the tigers they do? They wait for their prey. They wait secretly. They hide themselves and they wait in shadows so that nobody can catch them and they can attack on their prey quietly. Sliding through long grass, they hide themselves through the long grass so that they cannot be noticed. And they wait near the water hole where other animals like deer they often frequent to have water, and this is where usually the animals are found. So here he attacks the plump deer. Plump means fleshy. He attacks on its prey. So this is the imagined scenario of the tiger. Let's understand the third stanza. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. So we understand the meaning of snarling first. Snarling means growling in anger, which often the wild animals they do to make others scared. Baring means showing. Fangs are the sharp teeth that the tiger has. His claws, his nails, which are very long. And terrorizing means spreading fear. Now, let's understand what does this mean. So now the poet is visualizing how the tiger lives his life in his natural way, how he should be growling in anger, roaming freely around the houses which are lying at the jungle's boundary, at the jungle's edge. And he shows his white, sharp teeth, his claws, in order to spread fear among the villagers. Don't you think this is the only thing that suits a tiger? Spreading fear, since it is such a ferocious animal. Now, this should be the natural behavior of the tiger, which is clearly opposite of what the tiger can do in the zoo. Now, let's understand stanza 4. So, what happens in this stanza? But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. So now we see that his visuals have been shifted to his life in the zoo, his life in the cage. And the poet says, but he's locked in a concrete cell. Concrete means it actually means some material or building which is made up of cement, but it also means something solid. So it points out towards the strength of the cell out of which the tiger cannot come. And this but has been used to create the contrast between the life he would have had in wild and the life he's living now. He's captivated, he's locked in a solid cage. Cell means cage. And his strength, his power lies behind those bars, which are very strong. Stalking the length of his cage. The meaning of stalking we have already done, that he moves slowly the length of his cage, the limited space that he has, and he keeps on ignoring visitors because clearly the tiger is unhappy. He's frustrated with his captivity, with his helplessness in the cage. Now let's come to the last stanza of the poem. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So in this poem, it is a conclusion of how his day is spent and how it ends into quietness of the night. It talks about how at night he remains awake. Keeps on gazing at the stars. He keeps on looking at the stars. Now this looking at the stars, it means that it symbolizes his desire to be free, his longing to be free from this captivity, which his natural life. He wants to return to his natural life, which has been taken away from him. And the only thing that he can hear at night is the cars that come to check whether everybody has exited the zoo or not. That's the only company that he has. So it ends on a very sad note, that how eternally he keeps on longing for that freedom which he might not ever get. So let's talk a little about the theme of the poem by Leslie Norris. So the theme of this poem is freedom versus captivity. And the poet is trying to tell us that how unnatural and how cruel it is on part of human beings to cage a wild animal like a tiger for merely for entertainment purposes. And when the tiger is caged, how powerless he feels, how his dignity is ruined. And while in the wild, he's so free, and he shows what his true nature is like. He's very ferocious as an animal. So this poem, it is a reflection on the loss of freedom and the result of confining the animals, barring their beauty and depriving them of their natural habitat. It is also very important to understand what is the tone of the poem. So the tone of the poem, it shifts from sympathy for the tiger's captivity to sense of awe at his natural power and ferocity when free. So in the end, I would like to tell you that the agenda of writing this poem is to create a sense of sympathy for the wild animals, and it emphasizes the misery and the injustice that they suffer at the hands of human beings. It urges the readers to understand the value of freedom for all living beings. So, with this, we come to an end of this poem. I hope you have understood it. And if you have any queries, do send your queries in the comment box, and keep watching my channel.